Hi, it's Taylor T. Carlson, and I'm back with another video for you. It's been a while. Did you ever think I was coming back? Well, I gotta do a lot of catching up on my videos, but I thought today would be a good day to go back and look at one of my favorite movie franchises, the Rambo series. We just had Rambo Last Blood, the fifth and presumably final movie in this franchise, come out late last year, so I thought this would be a fantastic time to rank all 5 of the Rambo movies. For this list, I'm only looking at the films themselves. I'm not looking at other spin-off media or anything. Let's try to forget that god-awful cartoon series from the 80s ever happened while we're at it. Let's go ahead and get started. At the absolute bottom of our list, at number 5, we have Rambo Last Blood, the most recent entry in the series. This is just a very dour, depressing film. Rambo has settled into domesticated life, and his adopted niece has jumped the Mexican border to go reunite with an old friend and find her father, and of course, in typical movie fashion, within 12 hours she finds herself sold into sex slavery. This movie makes the mistake of using Mexican cartels and gangs as its villains, one of the most overused tropes we see in films today. And I understand not everywhere in Mexico is a nice place, but really? She's sold into sex slavery within 12 hours of crossing the border? That's a little too ridiculous even for me. Granted, the finale, in which Rambo does what he does best, is actually pretty entertaining, but it's really just not worth the payoff here. This series really should have ended after its 4th movie, and after seeing the 5th installment, odds are you'll agree with me there. And number 4 on our list, Rambo III. The 3rd installment in the series. At this point, of course, Rambo had gone from humble soldier trying to restart his life in America following the Vietnam War to full-blown 80s action hero. After Rambo First Blood Part 2, it's almost as if the producers said, let's do everything bigger, better, and so on. And that's basically what you get here. A whole lot of mindless blood and guts action. If that's the kind of thing you're into, this is certainly going to be your movie. But to me, it just feels like a hollow retread of the previous entry. The relationship between Rambo and Colonel Troutman here, I think, is done very well, but there are other more dated aspects of the film, including the fact that it actually deals with Rambo joining the Afghanistan soldiers to fight against the Russians, which, especially in our post-9/11 society, seems very dated. That's not to say there aren't a few fun points in this movie, it's just not the one I'm going to find myself coming back to the most. In the middle of our list at number 3, we have Rambo First Blood Part 2. The follow-up to the original movie, First Blood, this sees John Rambo going back to Vietnam to look for unrescued prisoners of war. Unfortunately, there's a conspiracy with some less than favorable people involved, and soon enough, Rambo finds himself allying with another soldier and fighting for his life. This was the movie that really turned Rambo from humble soldier into someone who was basically a full-blown 80s action hero. For better or for worse, this is still one of the better sequels as far as sheer action value goes. You get some porting parts from actors like Martin Kove, best known as the Cobra Kai sensei from Karate Kid, Charles Napier, who plays a square-jawed authority figure in every movie ever made, and even Steven Berkoff is one of the bad guys. You probably remember him best as the bad guy in the original Beverly Hills Cop. Even James Cameron, fresh off the success of the original Terminator, worked on the screenplay for this film. There are some great, memorable, classic action moments in this movie. It's right in the middle for me, but for straight-up pure 80s action hero entertainment, you can't do a whole lot better than this one. At number 2 on our list, we have Rambo, aka John Rambo. This is the 2008 film that rebooted the character, serving as a sequel to the first 3 films. This movie does for the Rambo franchise much what Sylvester Stallone did with the movie Rocky Balboa for the Rocky franchise. It's also the only Rambo film that was actually directed by Stallone. This movie deals with Rambo as a boatman living a peaceful life in seclusion in the Middle East, but a group of missionaries who wants to take supplies to war refugees ends up enlisting his services. Naturally, he's reluctant to go back into the life, but once you get Rambo back in full-on killing machine mode, the entertainment never stops. It's one of the most violent entries in the series. Hell, it's one of the most violent movies I've ever seen, period. But despite this one actually has a heart. You have Rambo regaining his humanity, connecting with people for the first time in a very long time, and The mantra that's repeated throughout this film, live for nothing or die for something, has even been adapted by many groups of freedom fighters in the Middle East in real life. When's the last time you could say a movie did something like that? And the greatest of all the Rambo movies, as if this was any surprise at all, First Blood. This was the movie that introduced the world to John Rambo. At this point, the character was not yet turned into an over-the-top 80s action hero. He was simply a soldier reuniting from the Vietnam War who just wanted a place to settle down and live his life. This character in this movie is just a victim of circumstances, and the only times he kills or threatens anyone is in self-defense. I think only one person actually dies in this whole movie, and it's an accidental death. Rambo is a very relatable character in this film, as is Colonel Troutman, and it's definitely my favorite in the series. It's the deepest of the movies, and it's really the only one that really captures what author David Morrell was clearly going for when he created the character in the first place. As far as Rambo movies go, this entry, which is noticeably more grounded, more realistic, and all around more satisfying, is definitely my favorite. Do you agree with my countdown? What is your favorite movie in the Rambo franchise? What's your least favorite? Do you agree with the list or not? Go ahead and post in the comments section below because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and I will definitely be seeing you in my next video. This has been Taylor T. Carlson.